Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse is Anta, the extreme forms of religious practices and beliefs. During these 3 months of rains retreat, Varsa, we undertook to, to conduct a series of talks on the first discourse of the Buddha, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, that is, setting in motion the wheel of truth. The Buddha gave this first discourse on the full moon day of Ashadha, that is in July, the full moon day of July, on the 25th of last month. So we started this as a series. There are 5 very salient, important points in this particular sutta, because the sutta contains practically all the important teachings of the Buddha. The core teachings of the Buddha are to be found in this particular sutta. So we thought of, serializing this. Now we have been discussing in the last discourse, the last week, we have been discussing about the nature of extreme practices, because in this sutta, the Buddha starts the sutta by saying, Dve me bhikkhave anta, monks, there are these 2 extremes, namely, kama sukhallika anuyogo, the devotion to the sensual indulgence on one hand, and devotion to self-mortification, attakilimathanu yogo, that is self-mortification on the other. Now, we have discussed much of it in the form of introduction, so we won't recapitulate them, except wherever they are necessary we shall bring them. Now, Anta, the definition of Anta is extreme forms of religious practice, and they manifest in 2 very distinct forms. One is in the form of supposed religious practice, or practices in the name of religion, but actually indulging in sensual pleasures. They are one form of exercising sensuality and even sexual misconduct. Everything connected with kama, sensual indulgence. So, all in the name of religion, and that being the case, they are accepted by the public, and not only that, there is a belief pattern that grows, that only through such perverted religious practices that one can achieve success in life. So much of these practices, extreme form of practices, are really connected with how to get this, how to get that, how to be successful, how to harm somebody, how to destroy somebody, all connected with worldly existence. And they have nothing to do whatsoever with religion in the best sense of the term. Religion basically is meant to create a noble human being. It is meant to ennoble the human mind, to sublimate the animal qualities in man. That is the purpose of religion, in the best sense of the term. Now, from the earliest time in India, we have the Vedic religious practices in various forms. In the Aganya Sutta, how the Indian society evolved, you see, is given very beautifully, and whenever it is necessary we shall quote from that sutta. But now, in the Vedic time, there are various practices. There are two different streams of Indian culture, or you might even call them Indian civilization, the earliest ancient form of Indian civilization. Now the two forms, one is the Vedic Brahmanic form. Brahmanism, that is how it's called in philosophical circles. But you see, the better term would be a Vedic culture. Now there are Vedic civilizations, a society which grows, and the political system, the social system, the economic and other aspects of, collective life, all that also is a part of the culture. And culture therefore includes religion, includes morality, and all different aspects of life. So in that earliest form we have in Aganya Sutta, the Vedic ritual, the earliest period of Vedic culture, it wasn't so ritualistic, or animal sacrifice and things like that, which grew there, later on. At the earliest portion, earliest period, it was more or less, settlement, a settled life. Agricultural settled life, that stage. And then after that, how things evolved. So now, these religious practices that developed gradually through centuries and millennia, in fact, now some of them became so bizarre and so very perverted, they are disgusting, that there is no trace of religion or anything sublime in them at all. But they nonetheless kept on. See, black magic and extreme form of sensuality in the name of religion, tantric practices. All these are horrible practices, but they all go in the name of religion. Now I saw one TV program, I will just give one example. A TV program, this was when I was in Los Angeles. And there, this program showed how in the name of religion, you see a whole lot of people, they mutilate themselves. That is, they injure themselves in such a way that they can't live a normal life thereafter at all. A young man on a certain day, this was in Kurd, it's called Kurdistan. It's a very large area in the northern part of Turkey and Iraq and Iran. Three countries, three separate countries, and the northernmost portion lived by just one, type of people who are known as Kurdi. These Kurds, they have had a lot of fight throughout their existence, and the British got involved with them during the British period, and the Indian army got involved in that. So, the Kurdistan movement, and it's still going on, I think. Now, these people, during their religious festival, have something very important, what we call here Muharram and things like that. So, now, in one of those practices, they showed how a young man took a knife and just opened his, removed his eye, made himself blind. He said, this I sacrifice as a part of this thing to my religious head, religious prophet. Now this is in the name of religion, and he is something like a martyr. He became a figure of respect because of this. this kind of most bizarre religious practice. And now there are, here in the Indian subcontinent, there are countries, there are areas where people just strap themselves with bombs and they kill themselves and kill 100 or 500 or 1,000 people and destroy so many buildings around, and all in the name of religion. So in the name of religion, human beings have done horrible things, unthinkable things. So Lord Buddha, in his profound wisdom and the ocean of compassion that he was, he wanted that anybody who is seeking to become a spiritual person, a person who is liberated from all the sufferings of the world, a person who is liberated from the wheel of karma and punarjanma, rebirth, one wants to get out of this samsaric bondage and be exposed to the state of ultimate peace and ultimate tranquility of Nibbana, freedom from all suffering, and a state of bliss and peace. So in his search for that, he gave up his kingdom, gave up his family, gave up everything, and he discovered the ultimate truth by which he can reach this state and get out of the bondage of samsara. And there, after becoming an enlightened one, he remained for 2 months sunk in samadhi. He plunged into samadhi for 2 months and then remained in that state and emerged after 2 months, and then he decided to preach and make known his discovery for the benefit of the world. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, lokanukampaya, hitaya sukhaya deva manusanam. For the good of the many, for the welfare of the many, for all the entire universe, for the benefit, for the happiness, for peace of all beings everywhere, whether human or divine, for the good of all. Because he found out that it is possible to get out of suffering. It is possible to get out of the bondage of worldly existence, which is characterized by suffering in some form or other. I have just mentioned one form, the Purdi form, or the sterilist form and all that. Buddha himself underwent when he decided to become a monk, and he left home and everything, and he came to Rajagaha, and there he was in the, Pandava cave, and fresh, a prince who has become the prince of spirituality. So when he was there, one day he found in a temple nearby, thousands of animals have been gathered in the name of the king, and then they wanted to have some medha, some ashwamedha, gomedha and all that. That was some kind of huge animal sacrifice for the benefit of the king or the kingdom or the people or whatever, some worldly benefit for somebody, and all in their temple. They were all brought there and they were going to be sacrificed, beheaded. Thousands of animals to be beheaded like that, and in the name of religion. So he was so profoundly moved. He went where the animals are, they were slated to be beheaded, in that block. This is where they tie the animal and then chop the head off. So he put his head right there. And he said, come on. He told those priests, their pujaris, if by killing these poor animals who are dumb and helpless, who can't talk, who can't tell about their sufferings and misery. If by beheading them we are going to become prosperous and bring prosperity to the king or to the kingdom or to whoever, let a higher being's head be beheaded and may let them gain from that. So as soon as you put the head like that on the block, those pujaris were so not only dumbfounded, they were so frightened they started literally kampanam, that is, they were trembling out of, a kind of fear generated by the moral power of the Bodhisattva, the power of compassion, the power of spirituality. So they sent, the temple managers sent a whole group of these pujaris to that ministry which under whom they worked. And this minister ran to the king. And king was Bimbisara. And Bimbisara, they went, look at a sadhu, a monk like that. We have never seen him. He looks like a prince. He's a wonderful person, so calm, so peaceful, so loving. He put his head on the block. So what do we do now? Immediately Bimbisara understood. He said, "Oh, stop all that procedure. Stop all that medha business. Stop it. I will find out who that person is." Then it was stopped, of course, and they took him out of it. He said, no, you don't need to kill yourself. The king will see you, and you better tell the king whatever you want to tell. We are doing what we have been taught to do. This is our religion. The Veda tells us to do this. Animal sacrifice, so that is good for the country. Big country needs a lot of rain. There is no rain here now. So kill and bring rain. What a logic. But these things go on even today. A fellow who is a chief minister, I am not going to tell who is he. This guy goes to Tamil Nadu, to a temple where I am told that is something, they are very famous for some black magic and all kinds of things go on there, including animal sacrifice, this and that. And this chap gives a big pad full of money and gets a puja done and all that, so that there will be rain in his state. Now, in what way is he different from those people in Bimbisara's time? No difference. This is a mentality, this is a belief system. So these perverted extreme forms of religious practices have, you see, at the bottom something else, some belief, some mental state, which is so very, I must say, bizarre and completely perverted, distorted mind, topsy-turvy mind. And there you are. The whole world goes on with this kind of practices. So Buddha said, look, if you really want to get enlightened, if you really want to be pure and noble and religious in the best sense of the term, start by cleansing your own belief system. Cleansing the mind of the belief system which believes in all kinds of foolish things like animal sacrifice, like violence. Then he gave, you see this discourse and the commentaries we have got, 4 bases of religious, you see, the distorted or extreme forms of religious practices and beliefs. There are 4 reasons for that, very specific reasons. One, panatipata, the belief in killing, destroying life in order to achieve something which is good for the people, for the country, for the king, for our success of life, and do all kinds of things, all in the name of religion. So, in the name of religion, when practices a very unwholesome practice like killing goes on, then the mind too gets distorted. People start believing in killing as a solution for life. No wonder then that India has undergone so much of killing and suffering, so much of these foreign invaders coming and destroying great institutions like Nalanda, wonderful universities with, where they had 7 libraries of 7-storied building, all that store of wisdom, everything burned to, ashes by fanatics who thought these are all, they believe in non-violence. So if you don't, it's not enough that you are violent yourself, but you must make everybody violent. And those who are not violent, make them violent or kill them. Look, these are the consequences of terrible, this extreme forms of religious practice. So one cause then is belief in violence. Killing, animal sacrifice. Every religion, I must tell you. And unfortunately that includes Buddhism. But the latest form of Buddhism, the Tibetans believe it, and therefore they believe in this Tantra, this Tantrayana. They have got this kind of black magic, mantra, tantra and all that sort of thing. We will be mentioning this. So see how religion can degenerate. Buddha was the very embodiment of compassion and love, of non-violence and peace. And in his name now these things go on, and all in the name of religion again. So,